Hi everyone, I'm Gary Null, and I'd like to welcome you to a continuing part of our series on self-empowerment. Today the topic is how to find happiness in an unhappy world. Are you overcommitted or undercommitted to your own life? What do I mean by that? I mean that if we're overcommitted, then we do not live with balance. We have too much going on in our life, too many responsibilities, too many people, too many things to do, and there's no time for the essential self. Therefore, we live out of balance. And the only thing that can happen out of balance is we become emotionally hyper. And then when we're not finding fulfillment, we go down to depressed. Or we are undercommitted. We are so lacking in the sense of who we are, the meaning and purpose of our life, that we're just taking the meaning from our job. So we'll go to our job, or what we distract ourselves with, movies or television or radio.
When we're depressed, when we feel bad about our lives and are pessimistic and lethargic or agitated and have difficulty sleeping and eating, all those signs and symptoms of depression are letting us know that our lives are out of balance, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially.
Anyone who's depressed needs to be on a healthy diet, including supplements such as, for example, fish oils, omega-3 fish oils, which have proved very beneficial for a variety of psychological disorders, including particularly depression. The vast majority of people get significant benefits from taking up an exercise program. So that is a very important thing.
Just about anybody can take 5 or 10 minutes to go outside the house, to walk around their neighborhood, and that's a beginning. And the more movement that you can bring into your life, the more life you're bringing into your life.
Perhaps the most important overlooked way in which Americans can help themselves heal depression is by looking at sleep and dreams. In fact, losing sleep, insomnia, is the single strongest predictive factor we have for clinical depression. Depression and insomnia are so closely linked in our research findings that many of us today believe that they're inseparable processes.
How many times have you tried to tell people, but I'm a good girl? This would be the same for the boy. And what that means is, I am really going to subvert any natural impulse to be my authentic self.
When you learn the healthy part of nice girl, not people pleaser, not doormat, but being nice to take care of yourself, that's when happiness can come. That's when you feel more empowered with yourself, because you're not worrying about pleasing everyone but yourself.
Most of the people who define themselves as the good girl, or most guys the good boy, they're good for what everyone expects of them. And they can go through their entire life doing exactly what was expected and never taking a detour. But that doesn't mean they've lived an authentic life. It is allowing the authentic self to come up and speak, the authentic self to feel. How many things would you have done? How many responsibilities you would have taken on? How many people would you have allowed in your life? How much abuse would you have accepted? How many conversations would you have had if the authentic self was the one that was actually engaged instead of the conditioned self?
So we, at a very early age, of course, learn to turn away from ourselves, from our own authentic nature, from our own heart. And we start looking outside of ourselves. If I please the person who's important to me, my mother, my father, then I'll get the love that I need, the acceptance that I need, and I'll feel loved and accepted, and I'll be happy. And we grow up never questioning that original erroneous premise. And so we spend our lives in the pursuit of something from outside. We're pursuing outside something that we can actually only give to ourselves. And it doesn't occur to us, of course, we have a lot of conditioning that says that it shouldn't occur to us to try to give that sort of thing to ourselves. But it's not even so much a giving it to ourselves as returning to the authenticity that we left in order to try to get what we want or need. And leaving that authenticity results in a feeling of emptiness. And so we try to fill that emptiness with getting all of these things, and because we're trying to get them, we never have them, and the emptiness persists.
We confuse pleasure with happiness. Pleasure is not happiness. Pleasure is a completely different energy. Pleasure is what gives you a sense of enthrallment in the moment you're in, a sense of joy, a sense of excitement, a sense of being able to take advantage of the moment we're in. Now, pleasure is fine, but pleasure is not something that can be sustained. Happiness is the sense of being that no matter what you're doing, no matter, you can do nothing and be happy. Pleasure, you got to be doing something in order to find pleasure in it. But we confuse that all the time. So remember, pleasure is not happiness.
Happiness is not a constant need for pleasure and fulfillment. There is a big difference between pleasure and happiness. You get pleasure from buying a new toy, from getting a new car, from going shopping and buying new clothes, but that doesn't really make you happy in the long run. It's just that moment of pleasure, or it might be a day or a week of pleasure. But real happiness is something that's consistently puts you into a feeling of contentment, that overall contentment with your life. Things may go wrong, but you can accept that it's momentary. You can find solutions instead of wallowing in it. You can know that things happen for a reason, whatever's meant to be will be, and move on with it. I think that spirituality, a really strong sense of faith, helps to nurture true happiness as opposed to feeling very discontented, and then you look to outside things like things you can buy or having someone in your life to give you a life because you don't have a happy life on your own.
Pleasure fulfillment in the absence of happiness just feeds the narcissistic part of ourselves. It, like in a relationship, if somebody is just feeding their ego and the pleasure through sexuality, because maybe a man is with a beautiful woman, and so they're just feeding their ego, will never fulfill one in life. They'll go to the next pleasure fulfillment, the next and the next. It doesn't create happiness.
Pleasure is good, but happiness, which means the core of my being, needs nothing from anyone in order to find my happiness. I am happy because I've come to grips with who I am, what my meaning and purpose is, and I can be happy. So if you took away everything I have, you will not diminish my happiness. I will be able to sustain it, no matter what the ups and downs are.
And so we have been really programmed with a belief that our happiness is connected to the physical character of the universe, and that happiness in this case is measured by how much physical character of the universe you own. And so basically, we have been programmed that if we are going to be successful, we will measure our success with our physical possessions. And so we have been programmed to look for the wrong thing. And why that's relevant is you can really ask most of the people that own most of those possessions. In the end, once they had the possession, did it really provide the harmony and energy of the field? And the answer is not really. And so basically, you can go down and find that some of the poorest people on this planet have actually found the answer. And it wasn't in the matter, it was in the nature of community, love, and harmony.
Present satisfaction, delayed dissatisfaction. Don't look at what you're going to achieve in this moment. Look at what you achieve in this moment will be down the road. Is it sustainable? Is it healthy? Is it balancing? Is it nurturing? Is it honest? Then if it is, fine. If it's not, pass on it. All the time, I believe it's more important to pass on something that you could have in the moment, if in that moment it's going to make you less of a person.
There's a lot to be learned if we can tolerate a little bit more the mystery, not just try to hold on to a few quick certainties, but to really tolerate the mystery of life and go deeper, and we will become deeper through that, through facing the dark side of our psyche, for example, and not being so afraid of our own fears. Facing our anger and hatred and greed, and not trying to deny it or pretend it's not there or get rid of it prematurely, but integrate it and process it so we can feel angry and process it through awareness, present awareness, nowness awareness, process the anger, and then choose how and if to express it, not just have a blind knee-jerk reaction when we feel angry.
Continued indulgence becomes an obsession. So anytime people are obsessive about anything, more often than not, it's because they're indulging their negative side. When you master life, it is effortless, the energy that you control, because you're not afraid of it. You're not coming from the wrong place. You're not trying to force an outcome. Happiness is not a constant need for fulfillment and pleasure. So don't equate fulfillment with happiness. You can find something that's fulfilling and doesn't mean that you're going to be happy, and the constant need for it means that you're not going to achieve it. So separate out your need for these things versus the reality of becoming that thing. So we are happy, we just don't allow ourselves to express it based upon our condition and the different ways that we have manipulated this unhappiness in our lives to survive. You get rid of all that, you wipe all that out, and what you have is happiness.